What's good, Commanders fans? I know I'm super late today, just a super busy day, super busy Friday. Hope everybody has a good weekend. It's Super Bowl weekend, man. Super Bowl weekend. This is exciting, guys. Hopefully this is something that the Super Bowl we can be in the near future. I'll just say that hopefully under Dan Quinn's tenure, we can be in the Super Bowl within the next couple of years. So I'll just say that to be optimistic. But we have brought back Tavita Pritchard as the quarterback's coach. That happened yesterday, and today they announced the hiring of Larry Izzo of the special teams to be the special teams coach, the special teams coordinator. And Larry Izzo, man, he's impressive. He really is. He's super impressive. Of course, I never really heard much about him until they brought him on staff. But he was the special teams coordinator with the Seahawks. He was with the Texans, and then in 2021, that unit was ranked third in the NFL last year per PFF. Three-time Super Bowl champion as well. He was a heck of a special teams player himself, man. Like looking at his Wikipedia or looking at his bio, he played in 14 seasons in the NFL. Izzo recorded more special teams tackles than any other NFL player in history, which is 298. Also, Izzo racked up 275 special teams tackles in 200 career regular season games, plus 23 tackles in 21 postseason games. So, if anybody knows special teams, it certainly is Larry Izzo. Larry Izzo scored a touchdown in the game. He had he had a couple fumble recoveries. He had one interception with the New England Patriots. He played with the Patriots in 2003, 2002, 2001. So he definitely won a couple with Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. He scored one rushing touchdown in the game. Also, as a linebacker, probably like a rushing touchdown or something like that. Yeah, he scored one rushing touchdown on a 26-yard run in a game as well. So he's done multiple things, man. He was used in different ways in the league for sure. So Larry, his resume is impressive, man. He is impressive. Like Dan Quinn, man. He's not playing around with his staff, man. He's definitely got a legitimate staff in here, man. He really does. Also, this was a tweet from Al Galdi here, and then Larry Izzo, he is from the DMV as well. He grew up in Northern Virginia, went to Broad Run High School. Like I said, it doesn't matter at the end of the day if you're local, but it's just good to know. It's just good information to know that he's from the DMV. Might have been a Commanders fan growing up, you never know, or a Skins fan at the time growing up, you just never know. Special teams coordinator since 2018, like I said, three-time Super Bowl champion as a player as well. You look at this as well. It's from Al Galdi, a tweet from him. He says the Seahawks ranking in special teams DVOA for each season. In 2021, they were number 5. 2022, they were number 4. 2023, they were number 8 as well. So per DVOA, his special teams units were really good. Now you got to think about it this way: Jeremy Reeves, he's a free agent. Are they going to bring him back? Most likely they will. All Pro Revo. I think Larry Izzo would like him a lot. He is an All-Pro. I think we had another guy who was getting like a bunch of Pro Bowl votes. I think it was Terrell Burgess or something like that. So I know they may bring him back for special teams. Percy Butler is a special teamer. Last year, he was on special teams a lot. Quan Martin was on special teams a lot last year, too. Quan Martin, as he gets more of a prominent role, we'll see if he's still going to be on special teams as a gunner and whatnot. Troy Apke, he wasn't on the team last year, but that's a guy that, of course, comes up, he just never leaves the team with Ron Rivera. Since Ron Rivera's gone, we'll see if he even is brought back on the practice squad. But all that aside, that's just what I'm looking at. And then last year we had just a terrible, nasty, awful long snapper, which we should never, ever spend a draft pick on a long snapper again. So special teams was rough. Other than Jamison Crowder having that punt return against the Falcons, he had another good punt return. Then he threw the ball up in the air against the Jets somehow. He just fumbled it. I don't know how the heck that happened. But we'll see if we can improve on stuff like that. We didn't have any muff punts, which is good. Jamison Crowder didn't really muff any punts or anything like that, so that was a big improvement. But the long snapping was terrible, and our punt coverage was bad. We did give up a punt return to Marvin Mims for the Broncos. We gave up a touchdown, and then I feel like our special teams on the defensive side, giving up punt returns, we didn't do a good job. And he's gonna love Tressway. Larry Izzo's gonna come in, and he's gonna love Tressway. So special teams coordinator, there you have it, Larry Izzo. Now let's move on to Tavita Pritchard. Of course, we're familiar with him here. Eric Bieniemy hired him last year. He did coach at Stanford. He was the offensive coordinator. He was the quarterback's coach at Stanford. Then he was promoted to the offensive coordinator. He coached J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, who's not, I don't even think he's in the NFL anymore. Bryce Love, once again, who's not in the NFL anymore, but had a great career at Stanford. Davis and Mills, who's a solid backup solid backup Quarterback, Kobe Parkinson, the tight end at Stanford. Walter Little. Davis Miller, I talked about him. Drew Dowman. Simi Fehoko as well out of Stanford. He was a 5th-round pick at Dallas. Tanner McKee, he coached him too at Stanford. All those guys had really, really good careers at Stanford. And then Bryson Tremaine too. Bryson Tremaine, I remember he was an undrafted wide receiver that we picked up last year who had a solid preseason. I want to say he had a touchdown in preseason too. So he coached some good, talented players at Stanford University as the offensive coordinator, and he believes in running the football. He has to because, Bryce Love got a lot of carries. He got a lot of carries. So I think, just because EB hired him and Sam Howell kind of sputtered last year, because I think a lot of people, what they're saying is, why bring back Tavita Pritchard when Sam Howell didn't have a good season, and Sam Howell had a rough end of the season. Now, Sam Howell had a solid, he had some good games, the Eagles games, the second half of the Broncos game, the Patriots game, the Seahawks game. All those games were good games. So we'll see what happens with a different offensive coordinator under Cliff Kingsbury. But per Nikki Javala, he really, really impressed in interviews, and other teams really wanted Tavita Pritchard on their staff as well. So he turned down interviews, or he turned down potential offers from other teams to go back to the Commanders. So he's a very, very highly sought after guy. Played college football, of course. I want to say if he made it to the NFL or not, but yeah, he's had a decorated career. He doesn't want his quarterback to think too much. He wants them to be decisive, just like any other offensive coordinator. And he's a young guy and can be an innovative offensive mind as well. So he really is shaping up this staff. I mean, like I said, the Brian Johnson hire, I think it's a solid hire because he's not an offensive coordinator. He's not calling plays. Brian Johnson with the Eagles did a good job when he was the quarterback's coach. Now he's going to be the pass game coordinator. And then Tavita Pritchard's brought back once again as the quarterback's coach. So we'll see how that works out. But I think it's a solid hire. I'm not like banging on the table for it, but I do think Tavita Pritchard coming back, I think it's a solid hire. I want to make sure that he is coming back as the quarterback's coach here. Yes, he is the quarterback's coach, and Brian Johnson is a passing game coordinator. But I really like the Larry Izzo hiring. I really like him a lot. And you never know with special teams coaches like John Harbaugh is a special teams coach. He was a special teams coach. He was promoted to head coach. So you never know what can happen with a special teams coach, man. He could be a leader in a minute and be poached a couple years from now as a head coach. You never know. But Tavita Pritchard, I like the move, and I want to see what he does with a young quarterback. We had a young quarterback in Sam Howell last year, but I do want to see what happens with him under Cliff Kingsbury. And what he does with a young rookie quarterback such as either Drake May or Jaden Daniels or possibly Caleb Williams. But he impressed in the interview, man. He really did. I guess he really impressed because they didn't have to keep him. I think he's the only holdover. A lot of people are asking, what's going to happen with Ryan Kerrigan? We'll see what happens with him. But other than that, I don't see anybody really coming back as from the previous staff of Ron Rivera. Now, I don't think they've announced the offensive line coach just yet. I think that's one of the biggest position coaches or most important position coaches that we're waiting on right now. And, we got blocked by the Cowboys to hire Alonda Wells as the offensive line coach. But, yeah, we'll see what happens with Tavita Pritchard. I like him. I think he's a good guy. From the outside looking in, like I said, he was an EB hire. And he's a young, innovative mind, and he really impressed, and he was the only holdover. So he must have really impressed because I know they really have been cleaning house for the most part, but they haven't really kept a lot of guys. I mean, they did keep Martin Mayhew, but as far as the coaching staff, they haven't really kept a lot of guys from the previous regime. So let's see what happens with Ryan Kerrigan. I think they should keep Ryan Kerrigan in some type of capacity. So, all right, you guys let me know what you guys think of the Commanders. Peace.